Hold on to your goggles. It's time for the Epic Engagement Adventure. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Epic Engagement Adventure. I am your host, RJ Redden, as you might expect. And today I've decided to wear all of the things on my head that I possibly can. It's a glasses day. We've got the regular goggles and headphones because we were having trouble earlier. And I am here with one of my friends. I am happy to call this man my friend, Carlton Brunton. He does things properly, y'all. And video and marketing is the stuff that he does. I've seen his stuff. It's awesome. And I'm so glad to introduce you all to Carlton today. Carlton, how are you?
Very well. Now we've fixed all the tech problems in the world. Very well. You know, why is a live stream without tech problems, hey? You know, why would it just work? Why would it just work? Why would two tech people just make it work? That'd be too difficult, wouldn't it? There we go. But yes, no, lovely. Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk all about you, my friend. So tell the world what you do, please.
So basically, I've somehow managed to broke the system and get to run around with a camera for a living, and people pay me to do it. It's really fun, and it's kind of the dream job. In crux is what I do. There is a lot more to it, and I'm slightly taking the piss, but it is basically that, and it's great fun. In crux, what do? We help our clients really help and showcase their authentic selves through the power of video to increase the likelihood that someone, when they choose video in my case, or chatbots in your case, or, you know, laundry or haircuts or whatever it may be, is going to choose that person over choosing a competition. Because they built trust, authority, they've built real power through their content, and they're just showing up and basically being annoying in a valuable way, I would hope. Some would say it's annoying in a non-valuable way, but that's potentially because they're the wrong person, which is actually completely okay, because first rule of marketing, you don't want to be everything to everyone. There we go. Brief synopsis for you.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. What was the series of circumstances that got you to be able to run around with a camera for a living?
So I'll do this really short, and then we can kind of expand on anything that you feel is relevant. My initial career, or my initial want, or my initial I'm going to do this as a living and this is a good idea, was back in esports gaming. So I was very close to be a World of Warcraft pro. I'm heavily into the game until very recently, when I become a ridiculous amount of workaholic, but that's cool because work's fun too. And one thing led to another. I started creating YouTube content. I got to the point where I kind of grew creatively, and I had kind of broken the system in the respect to in that world of how do you get viewership, how do you get views, which is what everyone wants on YouTube because of the way the monetization system works on YouTube. And it was kind of like, okay, you create the news first, you talk about the stuff first, and you'll get the viewership. Fantastic. Problem is, I got to the point where I was like, this is a bit boring now. I'm just kind of on a hamster wheel. It's not really why we got into it. So I moved away. Still play gaming as fun and etc. But I was like, okay, well, maybe there is something to this gaming thing, right? So obviously there's the obvious, do I want to create computer games? So I went traditionally into actually studying that, and I followed that through. And I got to the point where I had some studies, and I was at that gap between what you would call high school, to basically think, okay, do I want to take this really, really seriously and really follow it into a career? And I ended up talking to a couple of pros at the time, and I was like, okay, well, what's crunch time like? You know, what's actually working in the industry really like? And they basically just said to me, look, you might want to be careful if it's like your escape and it's your love, right? Which at the time, and still to an extent now, it really is. So I was like, maybe not. Okay. And, you know, one thing led to another. I went down another couple of career paths that didn't really end up becoming anything. They were just things I was trying. I mean, there was one that was CBT therapist that, you know, was something that I was really interested in. I've always been interested in human psychology. It's arguably probably why I'm quite good at marketing, because I can get how people tick, and I can kind of understand the psychology when it comes to, like, why do I make a purchasing decision, right? Why do I want to buy Coca-Cola, or why do I want to buy etc. brand? But for me, it was actually, this is a lot of investment of time, this is a lot of investment of money, and actually it doesn't really benefit me in a financial term at the end. From a fulfillment point of view, it'd be great, right? Because you're fixing people's mindsets and you're helping them overcome illness and etc. And that would be very rewarding, of course. But it's kind of this counterintuitive system, because you have this huge amount of debt. You're just on the threshold to pay the debt back, but also you're not earning enough to make sure that you're paying the debt back comfortably. So it's like, So didn't end up going down that road. And then I was into photography, kind of got to the point where I was like, okay, this is kind of fun, playing around on my phone. And my mum saw passion in that, and she saw I was really enjoying it, so she bought me my first DSLR. That led on to then me thinking about, okay, well, I created videos for like donkey's years, and by this point I hadn't really created videos for like 2 years properly, and I was like, okay, but I have this new skill set, so what does this actually mean? What can I do with this? This is exciting. I've got this new thing, right? I've got this new toy, I've got this new idea. And one thing led to another, and I reached out to local events, I reached out to local businesses, not to get paid, just to say, look, hey, look, this is what I want to try. I want to see if it has legs. Can I help your business? Can I help showcase you? And at this time, no one was doing it in my local area at all. It just wasn't a thing. And, this was just under 6 years ago now, 7 years ago. And, people loved it, right? They were just like, oh, okay, cool. And it slowly grew and it slowly grew. And it got to the point where people started paying me, right? And there was this weird concept where you're paying me to run around with a camera. And it's like, actually, no, hold on. If I think about this from like a really strategic point of view, maybe I don't have the full skill set yet. And maybe I don't have like the full marketing knowledge yet. But that doesn't mean I won't, right? So then it just slowly built, and I got better and I got better and I got better and I got better. And as I started leveraging video myself to grow my own company, because obviously as a video production house or as a video marketing agency, you're like, if you're not using video, there's kind of an alarm bell start to ring, right? It's like, what? And I think for me, it was one of those realizations that was actually like, I'm really starting to get really good at this. And I actually know how to use video as a tool to actually help people grow their businesses. And that might not necessarily be in a transactional way at the beginning. It might be something simple, like, as I say, building that authority, building that trust, really coming across like we are today, and just educating a audience on why I'm important, or why what I do is really powerful, and why you should potentially consider it, or potentially have a conversation about doing some video of some description, right? That's always the starting point when it comes to making money. You have to get to the point of a conversation, right? So a lot of the work we do is saying, hey, this is why we're really cool. This is why we're really fun. Come and have a conversation with us, because we can probably help, fix some of your concerns, some of your problems. And so that was like a quick whistle-stop tour of about 10 years of my life. And then since then, I've just been continuing to grow and continuing to get better and continue to sort of stay with the trends, which is really weird to say as a 25-year-old, because it feels like I should be like 35 or 45, but I'm not. So there we go.
Beautiful. I love it when I ask people what brought them to where they are today, and there's a long train of events. You know what I mean? It's like, because what a long, strange trip it's been to get where I am, and basically I don't want to be alone. But it really always seems like with people's stories, there's definitely stuff that they learn at every stage. I'm particularly fascinated with kind of your psychology stage. You said that you feel like it's led you to be a better marketer. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, it came from, I think, a combination of like being interested in it firstly, but also, I've had my own mental health journeys, and I'm exploring that in content this year as well, which is, going to be its own journey in its own right. Because, we're talking about things that I haven't really openly talked about in like 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 10.5 years, depending on which bits you're talking about, right? And for me, I think when you gain the knowledge of how your brain works, and you understand, it comes with a work ethic, it comes with how I built the business, it comes with, all of those things that you need to learn about discipline and about being proactive, as we mentioned, a little bit before the show, to give your audience some context. We were talking about the recession and the fact that I'm sure it's the same in America, but everyone in the UK at the moment is very doom and gloom, and, we're in January, it's like, oh, the world's over. And it's like, well, actually not if you're willing to be proactive and put the hours in and put the work in, because, not to gloat, but we've never been busier, right? As in inquiries and what we got going on and the kind of work we got going on, and etc. And it's a January, all right? This is traditionally the month which isn't meant to be busy. This is like the month where you kind of like just kind of roll things over and, oh, cool, it's February, fantastic, wonderful. But moving a little bit back to the initial question, which is about psychology, for me, I think it has to be something which you have to be aware of. And mostly we're talking about emotional psychology here, because you have to, when you market yourself or when you market someone or a product or a service, you have to have emotional intelligence to the point where you need to understand what you're articulating and how it's going to actually emotionally connect with your audience. Because one of the main reasons why we make purchasing decisions is, number one, do we have the need that I serve and I fix, right? Number one. Number two, how do I make you feel when you consume my content? Are you energized? Are you inspired? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you, what's that emotion? What's that emotional state that I give you? And, it might be something simple like you've just had a really bad day, you come home, you see one of my videos and you're a little bit brighter, you're a little bit happier, you're like, actually, no, it's going to be okay. Actually, if I do this or maybe I think about doing this, and it triggers those kind of like positive thought loops. And I think for me, it's really important to focus on what you can do and what you can control. And the key thing I took from the start of the pandemic was, okay, this is my reality right now. Is this a good reality? No, not really. Okay, but what can I control in this reality? What I can control is what I can do, what I'm going to do, what I'm prepping to do, but not what the rules or the laws or etc. or the reality that I find myself in. Okay, so let's cut out the news, let's cut out the negativity, let's try and surround myself with people and talk to people digitally that I can talk to, that allow me to be positive, that allow me to be there. And this is where I think the quote's sometimes overused, but this is where the concept of you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with comes from. As I say, I think it's overused slightly, but I agree with the principle as a whole, because if you surround yourself with positive people and people who see, even though there's things happening, even though it's a recession, and even though it's going to be more difficult, and even though it's going to require you to be good at operation to run a business, sure. If you look on the positive side of that and say there's loads of opportunities and there's loads of this, and you just need to seize them, then the universe, I believe anyway, will give you those opportunities. Now, it's up to you whether you seize them. It's up to you whether you go, do you build strategies and do you build, things that's like, actually, how can I proactively build habits into my life that passively generate me revenue, right? It's never passive. It's always an actionable step, but it's passive because during this time when I'm doing the dishes, watching the news, just get home, commuting, in between sets at the gym, etc., you're building habits that's like, I'm going to send a DM, for example. I'm going to send an email. And something that I've started doing this year is, if I get an idea to do something, I don't go, oh, I'll do that later. If I'm not doing anything that's more important, I will stop and send that email. I will stop and send that message. I will stop and put a calendar reminder or whatever it may be, because I'm not giving my mind the concept of, oh, I'm going to put it on a calendar and forget. I'm just going to get it done. And it's just like ridiculous levels of action has allowed me to lead to this point that I'm at today, which is actually we're the busiest we've ever been.
That's amazing. Well, what you were talking about, that habit forming type stuff, and that very much interests me. It coincides. There's a project that I'm doing at the moment that is, I'm building a bot, an accountability bot for my people. Because here's what I believe. We just went past the first of the year, right? And many people, not everybody, many people are doing goals and resolutions and fabulous stuff like that. And that absolutely works for some people. I am one of those people that it doesn't work for. If I set a goal, I'm constantly on myself about getting to that goal, to the point where the only thing that matters is that goal. And when I fail, that's it. Like, so, yeah. So for me, goals don't work. Goals is great to set them. I still set them. But then right afterward, like when you take immediate action when there's something to do, right after I set that goal, I decide what's the system that's going to get me there. Because it's never the great big action at the end that gets us across the finish line. It's all the training beforehand. It's all the thankless stuff we never give ourselves credit for that gets us there. And so for me, I created a little system where it was like, okay, here are the things that I want to do regularly. And then it went nuts from there because it's a bot and I'm having fun. I'm having the sound is garbling. Somebody is telling me. Consuela, hello there, my friend. Daily action, baby. You know it. I will try to speak more directly into my microphone and not yell as much. Hopefully that'll help the sound. Patty, do let me know though. We were having sound problems right before, which is why I have these huge headphones on. Anyway,
I've technically still got them, but it's okay. I'm a professional.
Yeah, it's okay. Carlton's a professional. Well, so
you should hear how this sounds for me. It's incredible.
It's incredible. Well, so anyway, that sort of stuff that's fascinating to me. The habit forming and things like that. Do you ever end up? I mean, do you do your habit forming stuff like with your outreach, with your marketing, with your sales? Like, is it just everywhere? Do you have daily actions for all those things?
I mean, just quickly before I answer the question, I think the important thing about goal setting is to change your emotional attachment to whether you achieve the goal or not. So for me, I'm quite unique in how I set goals. Like, I'll set a ridiculous goal. Like, I haven't set this goal, but let's say my ridiculous goal was I'm going to hit £1 million this year, or $1 million, right? Does it matter if I actually hit that goal? No. That's not the point. The point of the goal is for it to be the carrot on the stick that I'm constantly chasing, right? The point is actually if you do it that way and then you change your level of emotional attachment to whether you achieve the goal, imagine where you actually could be, because you're never going to be sat there going, well, I've achieved my... This is the problem with, like, SMART goals. I don't like SMART goals, the acronym SMART. I don't like it. Because it's a bit too safe. It's a bit too, okay, I'm going to do double. Okay, I'm going to do 10%. Okay, I'm going to do whatever it may be. And it's just a bit kind of safe. In regards to the initial question, I think, for me, this is a really key thing to how I've grown the business. Some people, when they look at what I'm doing now, they're going, oh my God, Carlton has all these daily rituals, or he has these habits, these he does weekly, or he does these things, or whatever. But what they're not appreciating is I've built these across 4 years. I've built these across 5 years. I've built my stamina across 5.5 years. I've built the fact I work 15 hours a day, or 12 hours a day, 13 hours a day, etc. Ridiculous hours a day across multiple years. I work 7 days a week. I probably have about an hour, a day and a half off across the Christmas period out of choice, right? It's why I'm in the position I'm in now, because I was really sharp when everyone came back. Everyone was like, oh, we're coming back to work. I'm like, let's go. People are back. Let's make money. Let's go. And the thing is, I think the key point here is choose a goal that's going to have the most impact to your business. If that's marketing, if that's sales. In most cases, if you need cash flow, it'll be sales. It won't be marketing. The point, and we can get deeper into this if you want, but the crux is develop something that works, that you know is going to generate you revenue in a short to medium term, and then do that repeatedly until you're sick of it, and then find something else to fill the rest of the time with. That's how I built every habit that I have. It's just basically getting to the point of burnout in doing that one thing that works. And then going, right, well, I've still got 4 hours to work today. What the fuck do I do now? Right? Yeah. And eventually what happens is you have these kind of like, right, you have these kind of containers of like energy, or these containers of thought process, or these ideas. And you're like, okay, I could do the podcast now. Oh, I've got this to edit. Oh, I've got this to go into. Oh, I need to send some more DMs. Oh, I need to do this, etc. And eventually you will run out of days, run out of time, run out of energy, or all of the above. Just because there's only so much resources that you have. And it actually should never be money, should never really be like anything tangible like that. It should only be energy or time. The energy thing you can work on, the time thing you can work on. Again, there's many ways to do that depending on what you're doing, but they're the only two bottlenecks you should really have, to be honest.
Beautiful.
But it's also okay if you do have cash bottlenecks, right? Because cash is an interesting thing. Making revenue is an interesting thing, because actually it's infinite if you understand how it works, right? When you understand that you're taking money more than making money, because you're not a bank, so you can't make money, right? You're not the Federal Reserve in your case. You can't make money. You can't. Well, you could, but it'd be illegal and wouldn't be
You
tender.
could, but it's against the law.
There we go. You take money, right? So then you just think, okay, how many conversations does it take me on average to win a job, whatever it is I sell? Okay, times that by however much money you want to make. There you go. Sales.
Yeah.
Welcome to sales, everyone.
To sales. I love sales, but I call it by a different name. For me, it's more helpful to think of it as becoming an invitation machine. Inviting. The stuff that I'm inviting to doesn't always cost, but with every ring of the circle that gets tighter and tighter that I invite people to, those things do begin to cost money. But I've qualified those people. They're excited to join me. I would be remiss if I didn't invite them. So yeah, it helps to think, for me to think of it that way, just because the way my psychology is made, I'm not motivated by money. I like it. I love getting paid, everybody. But I'm not motivated by money. I'm motivated by relationships and learning things and teaching people how to do things. And that's the stuff that lights me up inside.
Money's really important, but for me, I mean, it's interesting because I talk about money all the time, but it's like money's a resource, money's a tool, and for me, like I'm driven. Like if you're going to say like, what was I driven by? And it's just for clarity more than anything else. I'm actually driven by meaningful change more than I'm driven by money. But how I look at money is, if I have more money, I can then make more meaningful change, right? Whether that's scaling content, whether that's donating to a charity, whether that's giving £1,000 randomly or $1,000 to a food bank, for example, etc. If I'm in the financial position where I'm like, actually, I'm good, right? I got my feet up, I'm chilling, right? Actually, I'm never chilling because I'm like, how can I now leverage this to either make myself more money, so in turn means I can make more meaningful change, or how can I use the money and the resources I have now to make meaningful change in the short term to my community? But also, something that sometimes people misunderstand is time is a resource as well, in the same way money is, right? So when you're starting out, when you're broke, when you don't have any money, leverage the hell out of your time. It's the same with your network. It's the same with like, etc. Right? These are things we leverage. Right? These are things that we can leverage, and the more experienced people in business will tell you everything's about leverage. Everything you do in life is about leverage, right? The reason why someone wins bigger than I, or can do bigger deals than me, or do more deals than me, or etc., is simply because they have more leverage than me. That's it. That's what content does. That's what content can give you. That's what reputation can give you. That's what connections give you. That's what money can give you. That's what time resources can give you. It's just leverage.
And so that brings me to a question here that I ask everybody on the podcast, because people want to know. My people want to know, how do you engage your audience?
How do I engage my audience? So for me, my main engagement method is doing a lot of this kind of thing. So it's talking, it's articulating, it's giving a workshop perhaps to a room and talking to people and really going through their problems, pain points, issues, and then just filming that to cut it up for social, or just to distributing the whole thing as a training piece or etc. And the main reason I think is really important for me, I'm a dyslexic, so the concept of let's write an article and let's make it really big and really fatty, I can do it. It's going to take me 4 times as long. I'd rather just sit here and tell you, I can speak at a higher articulation and better in regards to speaking than I can writing. Now, you can leverage technology, you can there's things around it, and there's lots of ways to fix dyslexia, and it's not really a problem in theory. But the reality is still, it's a less efficient way of me articulating my message. So I think for me, finding one that you enjoy or can do efficiently is the key. And, when it comes to actually engaging an audience, at the beginning you don't have an audience. So you've just got to sort of start and sort of do it and sort of see what works. And then after that, you'll eventually get to the point where you've actually got enough content there where you're starting to establish an audience, and then you just start listening to your audience and start tailoring what you're doing to your audience, but also simply what's it doing for your business, right? Are you talking to the right people, and are they becoming paying clients for you? Because if that's the reason why you want to do content, that's the reason why you want to engage with your client list or your audience or etc. Just question, is it working? Now, I'm not saying is it working in 2 months? Is it working in 2 days? Is it working in 2 years? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, is it working? Do you believe it's going to work? Because the key, especially when you do video content and in sales especially, is having the confidence and conviction to say, yes, 100% this is going to work. There is no question. Because if you can do that, you can come across very differently than, it might work. It might work. I don't know. For example.
I don't know. Yeah, that's not how to invite people into your party. That's not how to make that happen. Yeah, well, you are engaging in video, folks. If you're not connected with Carlton, get him on LinkedIn, because there's tons of content coming out, and it is all talking about valuable stuff. That's been my experience anyway. Whenever I've seen your stuff, it's like, yes, Carlton, you go, Carlton. So yeah,
that's great. That's great to hear. I love hearing that.
Yeah. Oh well, of course. For me, it's much the same. Engaging people. It's less about flooding the email list or the airwaves. It's less about flooding and more about targeting and value. You know what I mean? Like creating that little snippet you were talking about. You hope that somebody sees your stuff and it's maybe inspiring or creates some ideas. Maybe they're happy when they get done with it. And that's one of the questions that we've all got to ask when we're creating our content, whether it's fabulous video like this man, or whether it's bots or whether it's writing. How do we want them to feel when they're engaging with our stuff? How do we want them to feel? Because you can direct that.
I think just quickly, I think it's always if I ask for your attention, if I'm asking for your time, if I'm asking, I need to give something back to you, and if ideally I need to give more than you gave me. But the thing is that people, when they start out with content, they don't appreciate or understand that by asking for time, by asking for attention, it is a transaction the same way it would be for money. Right, it is going to change your own psychology to how you look at that brand and that person. Right, how do we build trust in a outside of work relationship? We spend time with that person. We talk to that person. We hear from that person. We understand, and we try to get to understand their personality as a person. We're doing the same thing in content. The difference with content is you can scale it. You can scale it beyond one-to-one interactions. That shouldn't replace your one-on-one interactions. It should be an additional touch point, an additional thing that you do, right? And it's just a really quick tip for those who want to quickly start making a lot of content fast. If you're in a one-to-one and you are going to talk and you think you're going to talk some value, just put your phone against your monitor, press record, let it film you. You'll have an hour's worth of content there that can be easily chopped up by a skilled editor into 30, 40, 50 chunks. And then you've got social media content for a month. That's from one meeting. If you have more than one meeting a day, month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, month 5, month 6, for example.
Yeah. Well, how can people get a hold of your genius, my friend? How can people get a hold of some Carlton?
Well, there's two main methods. One, if you want to see more recorded versions of me and me dancing around a room and screaming and shouting about why video is a good idea, then check out LinkedIn. It's just Carlton Brunton, and or Brunton Media everywhere else. So Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, etc. Feel free to check out there. And also, I think we're also going to put, as if like magic, as if we prepped this before, there is a one-to-one link that has just magically appeared, as if like magic. And I would love to have a chat with you personally about potentially some of your issues with what you're starting with video, but also how you could potentially use it to grow what you're going to do. And for me, that's just a time for me really to get to know you and sort of see what your hurdles are, what are your problems, and see how I can use my experience or my knowledge in the video world to say, actually, I'll tell you what, this would be a really good idea for you because XYZ.
Beautiful. Well, hop on that link, folks. He is offering you his time, and time is the thing we can't get back. It is worth the time to be able to explore what Carlton knows, because he just knows so much. And I want to thank you for coming on the show today and talking about video content, talking about you. I mean, there's so many places where our values align. and it's just wonderful to know you and to be able to call on you. Thanks for getting to know my community. Do you have any final words of wisdom?
No, I mean, I'll really quickly just say thank you for having me, and thank you for the time, thank you for the attention. I hope it was valuable. I hope it was entertaining. I hope it was enjoyable. And the simple thing I always like to end these things on is just something which is actually from investing, but it also works with anything else in life. If you make 1% improvement per day, you'll be 37 times better by the end of that year. So it's not necessarily calendar year, but from whenever you started it, as long as you carry on doing the 1%, you will be 37 times better by the end of a year period in whatever that was. Fitness, business, investing, etc. It's the art of compounding. It's ridiculously powerful. And it's something which is why the most important thing for you, or the most important thing whenever you start anything, is just to start doing it. Because once you start doing it, you can gain some momentum. And once you gain some momentum, you can eventually get to a snowball effect where your hand's off, but the ball is still rolling down the hill.
Beautiful. All right. Well, my friends, that is going to wrap it up for today. Glad to see you all out there in LinkedIn land and anywhere else that you're watching from. And that's it for us. We will see you in a bot.